Learning is fun. Encouragement poster found in every classroom, no matter what the species. I'll teach you if it kills you. I'll enjoy the experience. You. Not so much. The detainee. I'd rather I hadn't learned any of the lessons of the Second Precursor War. Senior Sergeant Clet, Trinidad War Horde 2358. With a flash of white light, Tascapac and Shrockyuar stumbled into a hallway of bluish tile and soft ambient lighting. The signs on the walls warned of lethal force, of a secure area, and of stiff penalties for anyone who wasn't supposed to be on the premises, much less in the hallway. Shrockyuar stumbled slightly and recovered quickly, where Tascapac fell flat, barely getting his hands down in time to keep his face from smashing into the pale blue tiled floor. "Hey, you can't!" Two Sekmen yelled, both of them grabbing for their sidearms. Shrockyuar spun around, lifting the rifle, his finger already on the trigger. In his vision he could see where the weapon was pointed, how much ammo was left, how much charge was on the battery, and a sight from the end of the barrel, as well as another little window showing him what was behind him, and two others showing what was on his flanks. He didn't question that he understood, intuitively, how to use all the data, much of it projected past the edge of his peripheral vision. The two guards hadn't even cleared their synthetic fabric holsters when Shrockyuar let loose with a fast 5-round burst. The linkage from his brain to his hands to the rifle put the bullets right where he knew they'd go. 2 to the right, 1 through the gap between them, 2 for the left. Both of their torsos exploded into rags of flesh and misted blood, their soft armor not even slowing down the hypervelocity rounds. Tascapac scrambled to his feet, patting his pockets. He looked around, reaching out and touching the wall. Good, good. Right place. Thought might lose our feet if came in too low, he said. Why dropped? Didn't want feet to explode. Two things in same place. Very, very bad. Shrockyuar nodded, keeping an eye on the hallway as Tascapac reached up and peeled away the duralloy housing on a hollow projector, yanking the guts out and starting to worry them with his teeth and claws. Shrockyuar knew that under the claws, hidden inside the hard protrusions, were sensitive nerve/muscle fibers that allowed Tascapac to do micro-work on stuff that Shrockyuar couldn't even see with the naked eye. No time, very bad, Tascapac said.
Shrockyuar just grunted.
The hollow projector suddenly went live, throwing out a crimson light. Tascapac put it back, adjusting it. It looked like a solid wall of red across the corridor. Not good, not bad, Tascapac said. Hurry, soldier, hurry. The scientist ran through the red hologram and Shrockyuar followed, the butt of the rifle socked into the hollow of his shoulder. The subdermal nanofibers down his arms to the induction pads in his hand felt warm and soft as he quickly moved ahead of Tascapac. They stopped at the first corner and Shrockyuar pressed his back against the wall. Here, soldier, here, Tascapac said. The disheveled scientist was holding several grenades that had wires sticking out of gummy adhesive on the grooved duralloy casing. Shrockyuar just took them, putting them into his pockets. Go, Tascapac ordered. Shrockyuar smoothly pivoted around the corner, weapon coming up, staying low, staying tight to the wall. Opponents will waste their first shots on the middle of the corridor and over your head, but that only buys you a few split seconds. You want to look around the corner if you can, but barring that, come around hard and fast. Extreme violence without hesitation wins more engagements than all the planning in the world. The words were harsh, a low growling voice. Shrockyuar could remember the lessons. Remember push-ups in the rain. Remember running till he vomited and then running more. Remember crawling through the mud and water. Remember endless drills piled on top of exhaustion, on top of misery. The 3 Sekmen at the far end, guarding the door, half crouched behind ballistic cover, were still staring when Shrockyuar hosed them with a burst. He didn't bother with anything fancy, just went left to right, using the smart link to walk the rounds into them. All three popped like balloons full of pink mist and chunky salsa, spattering the walls. He'd done this so many times it was almost reflexive. The door was closing and Tascapac aimed a chunk of hardware with a tin pie dish on one end and triggered it. It gave a buzzing sound and the panel beside the heavy blast door exploded in sparks. The blast door started going back up as Tascapac put the device back in his pocket. Shrokyuar kept moving forward, ducking underneath the door. He knew somehow that the next door would have at least a half-dozen Sekmen all ready for him to come through the door. He threw himself against the wall, lifting the weapon up and holding it with one hand as he dug in his pocket. He pulled out an object and pulled the pin, holding the spoon down. Tascapac was messing with the holo emitters again. "Hurry, hurry, tick, tick, tick," Tascapac said around a mouthful of tools and parts, apparently digging at his teeth with his fingers. Shrokyuar knew he was adjusting the holo emitter he'd jammed in his mouth. He flexed his hand, feeling something click inside the grenade in his hand. He hit the control for the door, and it started to slide open. The experts will give you all kinds of bullshit on how to clear a room. Go left, go right, like you're SWAT or some high-speed low-drag motherfucker, the voice said. I'll show you how to clear a fucking room. He hucked the grenade through the door, making sure it was on a high arc. Catch, Shitas.
Shrokyuar yelled.
Someone got a chance to start to scream. The grenade exploded in midair, filling the room with shrapnel and plasma fire. Tascapac got the emitter to go red and put it back in the wall. Not bad, not good will hold for moments, Tascapac said. He pulled a container out of his pocket and drew a line of white crystals across the floor. He looked up. Hurry, soldier, hurry. All Dominion hangs in the balance. Shrokyuar nodded, peeking around the corner. Anyone alive was more interested in keeping breathing than bothering him as he peeked, then charged across the room. Speed, ruthlessness, and good old ultraviolence will take you farther than the experts would have you believe, the voice said. Tascapac pointed a device at the far door and triggered it. The door turned purple and dissolved and Shrokyuar charged through the mist. The lights dimmed slightly and a hum filled the air. No, no, too soon, Tascapac moaned. Faster, soldier, faster. Reaching down, Shrokyuar found a little bit more, running down the hallway. Twice Sekmen tried to stop them. Both times he shot them before they even got all the way out the door. Trust your instincts, your reflexes, the voice said. By the time we're done, we'll replace all that bullshit you've been taught with good, burned in reflexes, tested the only place it matters, where there's only sweat, blood, and bad breath. At one point a panel slid open, a robot starting to smoothly deploy on a fast swing arm. Shrokyuar was already shooting, going for whatever he could hit, knowing that the accountants always stripped out anything they deemed unneeded. Armor usually went first. The whole thing flew apart in a shower of sparks, and Shrokyuar reloaded his amblock on the run with smooth, well-worn reflexes he could barely remember getting. He slammed against the wall, back first, on one side of the door, Tascapac on the other. "You know what to do, soldier?" Tascapac asked, breathing heavy.
Shrokyuar just noded.
"What's on the other side?" Politicians, scientists, intelligence agents. The last three words dripped with condescension and disdain. Nobody that matters. Another nod and Shrokyuar reached in his pocket, pulling out a grenade. "Their security will be alerted that we're coming in." "Soldier work," Tascapac nodded. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small device. He shuffled over, clipping it to Shrokyuar's tattered uniform blouse. He turned it on, and Shrokyuar was suddenly entirely colored red. "Do soldier work, save Dominion," Tascapac said. Another nod. Shrokyuar pulled the pin and milked the grenade. Tascapac hit the door panel with his elbow, making it shoot sparks. The door panel went from showing a red, locked icon to opening with error on the screen. "Catch, Sheetas!" Shrokyuar yelled automatically, tossing the grenade into the room. There was enough time for a few Strevical to start to scream. Then the grenade went off with strange crump-crock of frag and white phosphorus. Shrokyuar was already moving through the door. Ahead was rings of seats, the ones around the door full of screaming or smoking meat. Past the seats was a macroplas wall. Beyond that was a circular chamber full of technicians and scientists, who were all just starting to turn toward Shrokyuar. In the middle of the room sat a massive piece of technology. He didn't know how, but Shrokyuar knew it was a computer core-off of a Crucible-class super-dreadnought Confederate warship, and it was starting to power up. "Hurry, soldier, hurry! Do soldier things!" Tascapac shouted. "All that matters is the mission. Mission first. Even if you have to die to accomplish the mission, if the mission is completed, you were only defeated, not beaten, and were successful," the rough voice told him. Strevical were all staring, some screaming, as Shrokyuar changed the ammunition type, the pulse going from his brain, down his arms, to the induction pads implanted in his paw pads, and to the rifle. The readout on the side changed to Loviapus Loex as he fired the weapon. The macroplas shattered as the rounds hit and exploded. He was already running, vaulting over several dead bodies, shouldering a Sekman out of the way, swinging the rifle to smash the butt against the muzzle of another Sekman, and then rotating the weapon to shoot the stumbling Sekman in the chest twice. Reaching the low retaining wall, he vaulted through the empty space that had contained smart macroplas only a second before. The computer was starting to light up, making humming noises. "Do it, soldier!" Tascapac yelled, aiming a chunk of wired-together tech at two Sekmen and triggering it. They turned inside out, then popped, showing everyone with chunks of flesh and gore. The readout changed.
Akbevasha EX.
Mission first. Shrokyuar clamped the trigger, hosing the entire 150 rounds in the amblock into the computer core in one long burst, the weapon roaring and bucking, the muzzle flashing, shell casings spraying out the side. The computer held for a moment, then the side imploded. Shrokyuar kept firing. He caught something good, and the entire far side exploded outward. Too late. It was male, Shrokyuar knew that. It screamed as it tore free of the blasted molosserks and memory crystal lattices. It threw its head back and howled, its teeth jagged, whitish blood making the scream bubbly. It was entirely made out of white line art. Cursing, Shrokyuar dropped the rifle to hang on the sling, which automatically pulled it around onto his back. His hand dropped down to his waist, and he pulled free a knife. Go in hard and fast. Get in close. Take the hit. Stab as fast as you can at anything you can. He lowered his shoulder and changed as it stopped screaming and crouched slightly, snarling. It came at him, sweeping forward. Mission first. The shock made pain flare in his shoulder and chest rings, but he started stabbing it in the chest and stomach, pistoning his arm as fast as he could, pulling the knife out only far enough to stab it back in. He blocked a hand with the fingers curled into claws, ignoring the bitter cold that made his arm ache and covered his red-colored arm in shimmering black frost. He took the hit to the side, feeling the muscles on his hip crush and deform under the power of the blow. He kneed it in the crotch, stabbed it twice in the neck, and barely managed to tilt his head to take the raking blow down the side of his face. His face went dead. Not numb, it was just gone, the nerves destroyed. The bones of his skull ached with the freezing cold. But he slammed the knife into the forehead of the line art terror. With a wail of rage and pain it dissolved, turning into clear goo that just fell to the floor. He stood there, breathing heavy, the frost-covered knife in one hand, his left arm hanging dead at his side. Mission complete, he thought. Saved us all, soldier. Taskapak crowed, slapping him on the back. Taskapak turned and faced the remaining crowd, who were staring in shock. Saved Dominion we did. With science. Taskapak yelled. Not you. We. Shrucker just breathed slowly, steadily, and deeply, staring at the slowly crumbling primary computer core of a terror starship and the puddle of steaming clear goo in front of him. Dominion security chose that moment to helpfully arrive, screaming at Taskapak to drop the technology and keep his hands above his head, and for Shrucker to drop the knife. Shrucker didn't resist as they cuffed him. You have one job, a female terror's voice said. Mama has one job for her special boys. He closed his eyes as they forced him down on his knees. He knew whatever was next was going to be bad, but he could live with bad. He'd survived wars.